Attention Australians over 70. From the 18th of November, your ability to drive could be taken away without warning. New rules, medical checks, and surprise road tests are hitting every state. And if you're unprepared, you could lose your independence overnight. Stay with me because I'm breaking down exactly what you need to do to keep your license, avoid fines, and stay on the road safely, state by state. Don't scroll away. This could affect you or someone you love. If you're over 70 or have family in this age group, this channel is made just for you. I'm going to keep uploading important updates like this, breaking down every new rule, tip, and advice you need to stay independent on the road. So, make it easy on yourself. Hit that subscribe button now and never miss a life-saving update. From the 18th of November, older drivers across Australia are facing significant changes to their licensing requirements. And if you're over 70 or have a family member in this age group, you need to know exactly what's happening in your state. The landscape of senior driving regulations is shifting dramatically with each state and territory implementing different rules that could affect your ability to stay on the road. Whether you live in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, or anywhere else across this vast country, the requirements for maintaining your driver's license after 70 are becoming more stringent, and being unprepared could mean losing your driving independence when you least expect it. Let's start by understanding why these changes are happening in the first place. Australia's population is aging rapidly, and while older drivers bring decades of experience to the road, the reality is that age-related changes in vision, reaction time, cognitive function, and physical ability can impact driving safety. Transport authorities across the country are walking a delicate line between ensuring road safety for everyone and preserving the independence and dignity of older Australians who rely on their vehicles for medical appointments, shopping, social connections, and maintaining their quality of life. These new rules represent an attempt to create a more standardized approach to assessing driver fitness, while acknowledging that chronological age alone doesn't determine driving ability. In New South Wales, drivers who reach their 75th birthday are now required to pass a medical assessment every year to keep their license. And this isn't just a quick chat with your doctor. The medical examination must be conducted by a qualified medical practitioner who will assess your vision, physical health, cognitive function, and any medical conditions that might affect your driving. If you're between 70 and 74, you'll still need to renew your license, but the annual medical doesn't kick in until you hit 75. The state has also introduced a modified practical driving test for some older drivers, particularly those whose medical assessments raise concerns about their on-road performance. This test evaluates real-world driving skills in various conditions and can be required at the discretion of medical professionals or licensing authorities. For many older drivers in Sydney, regional areas, and everywhere in between, these changes mean more frequent trips to the doctor, potential anxiety about assessments, and the very real possibility of facing restrictions or losing their license if they don't meet the required standards. Victoria has taken a slightly different approach that some consider more progressive. Once you turn 75 in Victoria, you'll need to undergo annual medical assessments similar to New South Wales. But the state has also introduced a comprehensive education program designed to help older drivers understand age-related changes and adapt their driving habits accordingly. Victorian authorities recognise that many older drivers can continue to drive safely well into their 80s and beyond if they are aware of their limitations and make appropriate adjustments. The medical assessment in Victoria is quite thorough, examining everything from your cardiovascular health to your ability to turn your head and check blind spots. Doctors must certify that you're fit to drive, and they have the authority to recommend conditions on your license, such as restricting you to driving only during daylight hours within a certain radius of your home or avoiding highways and high-speed roads. These conditional licenses allow many Victorian seniors to maintain some driving independence, even when full unrestricted driving might not be safe. Queensland's system has long been known for having some of the strictest requirements for older drivers, and the latest changes continue this trend. From age 75, Queensland drivers must have an annual medical certificate. But what sets Queensland apart is the mandatory practical driving test that some drivers must undertake. If your doctor has any concerns about your driving ability, or if you've been involved in certain types of accidents or received particular traffic violations, you may be required to complete an on-road assessment with a qualified driving assessor. This isn't your standard driving test from when you were a teenager. It's a comprehensive evaluation of your ability to handle modern traffic conditions, make safe decisions, and physically control your vehicle in various situations. Many older Queenslanders find this requirement particularly stressful as the test can feel like their independence is being judged, but the state maintains that it's necessary to ensure that only safe drivers remain on the roads. Additionally, Queensland has implemented a system where doctors are required to report certain medical conditions to the licensing authority, which can trigger assessments even between your annual renewals. South Australia has implemented changes that focus heavily on the medical certification process. Once you reach 75, you'll need annual medical certificates, but South Australia has developed specific guidelines for doctors about what constitutes fitness to drive. The state provides medical practitioners with detailed assessment tools and criteria, which means the evaluation you receive should be consistent regardless of which doctor you see. South Australian authorities have also introduced a system where occupational therapists can be involved in assessing cognitive function and decision-making abilities, particularly for drivers with conditions like early-stage dementia or following strokes. This multidisciplinary approach aims to provide a more complete picture of a person's driving capability. The state has also created pathways for drivers to appeal decisions if they believe they've been unfairly assessed, recognizing that these decisions have profound impacts on people's lives. Western Australia's approach includes annual medical assessments from age 75. But the state has also invested heavily in alternative transport options for older residents who can no longer drive. Recognizing that losing your license in Perth or regional Western Australia, where public transport can be limited, is particularly challenging, the state has expanded community transport services and subsidised taxi programs for seniors. The medical assessment itself is comprehensive, and Western Australian doctors are required to use standardised forms that assess multiple aspects of health and function. The state has also implemented a graduated licensing system where some older drivers might receive licenses valid for only 3 or 6 months instead of a full year, allowing for more frequent monitoring of rapidly changing health conditions. Tasmania's changes reflect the state's unique demographic with a higher proportion of older residents in rural and remote areas. From 75, Tasmanian drivers need annual medical certificates, but the state has recognised that access to medical services can be challenging in rural areas. They've introduced provisions for telemedicine assessments where appropriate, and have trained more local doctors in the specific requirements for assessing fitness to drive. Tasmania has also created a support program that helps older drivers understand what's expected during assessments and provides resources about adjusting driving habits as you age. The state's approach acknowledges that in many Tasmanian communities, driving isn't just about convenience, but absolute necessity with no realistic alternatives for accessing services. The Northern Territory and Australian Capital Territory have also updated their requirements with both requiring annual medical assessments from age 75. However, both territories have smaller populations and more limited infrastructure, which means the implementation of these rules can look different from the larger states. The ACT, with its excellent public transport in Canberra, has coupled licence restrictions with improved transport alternatives. While the Northern Territory recognises that in remote communities, driving often means travelling vast distances on challenging roads requiring different considerations in the assessment process. What's crucial for all older drivers to understand is that these medical assessments aren't designed to automatically take away your licence when you reach a certain age. They're meant to identify potential issues early and, where possible, find solutions that allow you to continue driving safely. This might mean updating your glasses prescription, managing a medical condition more effectively, or accepting some restrictions on when and where you drive. Many doctors report that their older patients are often relieved to have honest conversations about driving as they've been worried about their abilities but didn't know how to address it. The assessment can validate that you're still a safe driver, or it can open the door to discussing alternatives before a serious accident occurs. The practical implications of these changes extend beyond just passing a medical test. You need to be proactive about scheduling your assessment well before your license expires, as getting appointments can take time, and if your license lapses, you cannot legally drive until it's renewed, which means you can't drive yourself to appointments or shops. You should also be honest with your doctor during assessments, because failing to disclose medical conditions can have serious legal consequences if you're involved in an accident. It's worth keeping a record of any age-related changes you've noticed in your driving, such as difficulty driving at night or feeling less confident in heavy traffic, as this information helps your doctor provide appropriate advice and any necessary restrictions that keep you and others safe. For families, these changes mean it's time to have potentially difficult but necessary conversations with older relatives about driving. Rather than waiting until there's a crisis, start discussing these issues early, emphasizing that the goal is safety and maintaining independence as long as possible. Offer to help with transport when needed. Research alternative options together and be supportive through the assessment process. Many older people fear that giving up driving means giving up their freedom entirely. But with planning and support, families can help ensure their loved ones remain connected and mobile through community transport, ride-sharing, family assistance, and other means. The financial aspect is also worth considering. Medical assessments cost money, and while some might be bulk billed, many older drivers will face out-of-pocket expenses for these annual checks. Practical driving tests, if required, also come with fees. For seniors on fixed incomes, these regular costs can add up, and it's something to budget for as part of aging. However, most states offer some concessions or support for those experiencing financial hardship. So, it's worth asking about what's available. Looking ahead, these changes from the 18th of November represent just the beginning of what's likely to be ongoing evolution in how Australia manages older drivers. As vehicle technology advances with features like automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assistance, and other safety systems, the assessment criteria may change to account for these assistive technologies. There's also ongoing research into better ways to assess driving fitness that go beyond simple medical checks, potentially including cognitive testing and simulator-based assessments that can predict on-road performance more accurately. Some experts advocate for more frequent assessments starting at earlier ages, while others argue that fitness to drive should be assessed based on ability rather than age, potentially requiring periodic testing for drivers of all ages. What's clear is that every older driver in Australia needs to understand the specific requirements in their state or territory, mark important dates on their calendar, maintain open communication with their doctor, and start thinking about their long-term transport needs. The changes from the 18th of November aren't meant to punish older drivers or arbitrarily restrict freedom, but rather to ensure that everyone on Australian roads, regardless of age, is capable of driving safely. By understanding these requirements, preparing adequately, and approaching assessments honestly and proactively, most older drivers can continue enjoying the independence and freedom that driving provides for many years to come. If you're over 70 or approaching that milestone, don't wait until the last minute. Start the conversation with your doctor now. Understand what's required in your state and make a plan for how you'll meet these requirements while maintaining the lifestyle and independence you've worked a lifetime to achieve.